then they can inform the doctor, and he can inform the patient and offer antibiotics. Okay. You should not stack wrapped trays. Now, even rigid containers have a limit on how high you can stack them. And so you're going to want to check the instructions for use on that. You should never stack wrapped trays. You will probably see things stacked like small little Deaver retractors, you know, a Deaver retractor on top of another Deaver retractor. That is not such a crime. The reason you should not stack wrapped trays is because we could cause compression damage to the wrap. The wrap is designed to provide a microbial barrier the way it is straight out of the box. If you add compression to it, it could damage the wrap. Let me put it this way. There's a weight limit on the wrap. There's a weight limit on the heavy-duty wrap, the heaviest one that you have, and we have some of that in the lab. And it is 25 pounds. So if you have a 25-pound tray on top of a 25-pound tray, you have 50 pounds at a pressure point on that bottom tray. Other things that can happen if you stack trays is it pushes all the sterile air out, and then when you lift up that top tray, it sucks unfiltered air back into the tray. So again, rigid containers can be stacked, but you need to make sure that you're not exceeding the manufacturer's recommended limit on that, because it can do things like damage the gaskets on the trays that are on the bottom. Remember, 25 pounds, 25 pounds, 25 pounds, and then that gasket on the lid on the bottom tray all of a sudden has 50 pounds on top of it. Is that too much? Probably. I'm skipping to page 348 now. Purchased pre-sterilized items. Okay, I'm going to restate here. Outside shipping cartons should not be allowed into the sterile storage area, as they're a major source of contamination. This is not an outside shipping carton, but these boxes of gloves come in to the department in an outside shipping carton. That's going to be like a cardboard box, like that cool thing that you ordered from Amazon. That's an outside shipping carton. Other outside shipping cartons that there are plastic totes. So plastic totes that came from outside cannot come into your sterile storage area. Okay. Sterility, event-related and time-related. Well, time-related sterility means that something is considered safe for the patient, assuming that no event has happened to it up until a certain date. So time-related sterility is not about sterility. It's more about the product inside. So it may not be stable after a year. So they will put an out date on it. So if you see an out date like 2020, October 12th, then that's the last day that can be used. But we're more focused on event-related sterility. One event, believe it or not, can be that it expired. Another event that can render something useless, unsterile, is if it drops on the floor, if somebody sneezed on it, if it's just been mishandled to the point where you look at it and you're like, I can't tell if this looks like it's sterile or not. Putting things under your armpits to carry them. You just did an event. So another event that could happen is, you know, that blue wrap that we use, it may have an out date. The manufacturer will not test their wraps and peel packs, etc., into infinity. They will test them for 180 days, a year, or what have you, and then they'll say, well, we've tested it after so many days or so many months, and we found that the contents inside remained sterile. Good. So there's going to be an out date. We're not going to say, well, it looks okay, and it's been on the shelf for 3 years. We're not going to consider it sterile because there will be an out date. I hope this makes sense. Anyways, exceeding that out date is the event that renders it unsterile. Yes, the out date on the packaging. this rigid container that I'm using to prop my laptop up. It's got the blue lid, right? We have these in the lab. So I have the IFU for this in the lab as well. And the IFU for this says the manufacturer has tested this for 180 days and found the contents to be sterile, and do not consider the contents to be sterile after 180 days. So the other with the brown lids, it says they've tested it for 180 days, and that's all it says. So would you consider the contents to be sterile on the day 181? Say no. No, because you're not the manufacturer. You're not doing a validation on that container. So to my future managers, you may want to put out dates on packages, even though we don't normally do that now, but based on the the instructions for use on the material, on the packaging material. Okay, handling. Like I said, don't put things under your armpits. Okay, all sterile items should be monitored for events that may render them unsterile. How do you do this? You can't have somebody standing there in the storeroom constantly watching all items. You're not going to have cameras trained on everything. So we set up the conditions where we can keep things sterile, and then everybody diligently does things in a way that's not going to compromise the packaging. What if you have doubts about a package? So this is where I bring you to the picture on the bottom of page 349. Is there a hole in that plastic side of that peel pouch? Honestly, I can't tell if there's a hole or not. I might be holding this thing in my hand saying, that looks like it might be a hole, but I'm not certain. So I have some doubt, and I'm just going to, when in doubt, throw it out. When in doubt, throw it out. So as you're going through your sterile storage area, you're going to be looking for things that aren't right. You're going to be walking up and down the aisles of containers and noticing whether or not they all have locks on them. You're going to train yourself to do this. Okay, basic storage guidelines. What's bad for sterile items? Moisture, liquid, fluid contamination, dirt and dust, physical damage to the package, cuts, abrasions, tears, punctures, broken seals. So storage conditions should be meant to minimize or completely eliminate, if possible, all of the potential for that. On page 350, it shows a sign that says sterile items only, place only sterile items here. Yeah, even though we're all on top of our game and we're all brilliant and we all know exactly what's going on, sometimes we have to be reminded of the simple basic things. If you were to store you have a shelf that has a bunch of minor sets on it, and then a unsterilized minor set gets onto that shelf, that unsterilized minor set could way too easily get into the hands of the surgical tech, and hopefully the surgical tech realizes that the chemical indicator on the inside is not indicating sterility. The picture on top of that page 350 shows a broken lock. Okay, it's a tiny picture and it's really hard to see. I can see that it's a broken lock or it's an unlocked lock. And you'll have to notice things like that. There could be on one of those trays, I can't tell, but I would have to turn the trays around and look at the other side and go, oh, look, there's a missing lock here. That happens all the time. You might have an intact lock on one side and then the back side is no lock. So before we put something on a shelf off of the autoclave cart, we need to make sure that all of the external indicator / tamper evident seals are still intact, and make sure the things like the filter on the top, you should be able to see blue through those holes, and same as on the bottom. Make sure there's a Julian date sticker, or not a Julian date sticker, a tracking sticker, a lot number sticker on the item. Same thing when we take the items off the shelf to deliver them to the operating room. Make sure everything's good to go. And then, you know, occasionally you should actually have people, if you have downtime, and sometimes you do have downtime, instead of sending your people home saying it's a low census day, have them go through the sterile storage area and maybe do some routine cleaning, looking for things that are no longer sterile. You'd be surprised, somebody was pushing a cart down the aisle and they just knocked the lock off, and there it is on the floor. Freak out when you see a lock laying on the floor for no reason. Okay. I'm on page 352, stock rotation, simple concept, first in, first out. We always keep 2 gallons of milk in our refrigerator. We buy the 2nd gallon of milk, we take the 1st gallon out, we put the 2nd gallon in behind it, and then it's very simple, stock rotation. If you don't do first in, first out, then you may end up with expired milk. However, we also have to consider expiration dates. So an expiration date on a pre-sterilized item that got shipped in from Kentucky or wherever, if you get expiration dates that are sooner than the stuff that you already had on the shelf, those would be the first out. So the things that expire first should be the first out. So when we're talking about event-related sterility, the things that we sterilize in-house, first in, first out literally just means first in, first out. I sterilized this yesterday, and I sterilized this today. This has to go out. The one from yesterday has to go out first. Okay. Cleaning. When you're cleaning a sterile storage area and you want to put everything back on the shelf, you can use alcohol to help the shelves dry. You should clean the entire cart. You should clean all the little buckets that are holding all the little peel packs and things. There are washer cycles for plastics. There are cart washers that you may be able to put your storage rack carts through the cart washer. That would be an awesome big help. The routine cleaning needs to happen. So, shelf cleaning, I'm not going to go over the 8 steps recommended. I'm going to let you do that. People who work in sterile storage should be hygienic. Okay, you should not in any area of the department be unhygienic. You should not have artificial nails. You should keep your nails nice and short and clean. Oops, I'm just looking at mine. Okay, jewelry is discouraged because it can tear holes in packaging and may harbor microorganisms. So this ring right here is not going to tear it back, but if you had a big chunky diamond, there's a few reasons why you probably would not want to wear it in sterile storage. Contamination, tearing packages, and the fact that it might knock out your big chunky diamond and you'd lose it. Okay, the next few pages are really about maintaining clean conditions of the various things like hand carrying, cart transportation, elevators and lifts, vehicles, transportation guidelines. Okay, so that was a half an hour Zoom. We're ending in 10 minutes. I'm going to open the floor up for questions. And go. No? Are y'all still there?